You're listening to WSTU Stewart.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and guest and are not necessarily those of WPSL or WSTU. This station does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without the express permission and written consent of this station. Phone lines are open for your questions and comments. Call 220-9788 or 340-1590. And now, here's your host.
Well, actually, maybe it's hosts, Senior Gary and Senior Rick from Treasure Coast, Lexus. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Morning, Greg.
Hey, how are you doing?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
I've seen this guy next to you.
Yeah.
You have up close and personal, I heard.
Yeah, very up close and personal. Yeah, he's the one that taught us how to turn Carol's car on. Yeah. Oh man. So how you doing?
Not too bad.
Yeah. How's busyness down there?
Well, I'll tell you what, we finished out December on an incredible note. The December to remember. We just sold a ton of cars, and we made a lot of very happy people. And I would say of those people, 90% left the dealership as what we call Lexperts. It's a little terminology we use for people who learn the technology of Lexus.
There you go. Yeah. Well, we learned it for about 30 seconds. I totally forgot it. I don't drive the car anyway. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yes, you do. I saw you in for service the other day.
Actually, that
Kara
was
lets you bring it in for service,
the
right?
first time that I drove the car. Oh, it's an amazing vehicle. I mean, it really is. But Gary, tell us a little bit about what is going on sales-wise, and we'll get with Rick because I mean he's really the important cog in this operation.
Today he is. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. There's no doubt about it.
January is our winter sales event, and because of December to remember, and that is Lexus's biggest sale of the year, and that was through November and December. We sell quite a few new cars, most all year long, and that generates a lot of great trade-ins, and they turn into certified pre-owned vehicles. So Lexus, they're just such a smart company. They know after a big new car sales event like that, to help dealers sell, they incentivize all the trades we took in, and so it's always followed up with a pre-owned sales event. And in January, that's called the winter sales event. So incentives are on certified pre-owned cars now. It kind of shifts. Although we still have great incentives on new cars, they also add to the mix incentives on pre-owned cars. And again, to assist the dealers, knowing we took in a lot of great trade-ins. Mm-hmm. So, we've got on the pre-owned side, L certified, we have interest rates as low as 0.9%.
Whoa.
And, so that's where they incentivize and really assist us in moving that inventory. So inventory.
Is that through Lexus?
That is through Lexus Financial.
Cool. Okay. Yeah.
And that is just a fabulous incentive. And also because of December to remember, our inventory and selection is better than it's ever been. So it's just a great time to consider certified pre-owned. And the certified pre-owned program we've talked about before it's just a phenomenal program. And Lexus revamped that program, so to speak, a little over a year ago, and rebranded it from just certified to L certified. And the reason they did that, quite frankly, was because the term certified had become pretty commonplace, and people were using it, and it was confusing a little bit because I think a lot of our guests assumed that, well, because somebody else said it was certified, that was the same as what we called certified, and that couldn't be farther from the truth.
Okay, yeah.
So Lexus rebranded it, and we now call it L certified. And that is truly a certified vehicle. For example, when we certify a car, when a car is marked as L certified, that vehicle has an unlimited mileage Lexus warranty on it, comprehensive warranty. Not just the powertrain, not just the engine, not just the drivetrain, but comprehensive, just like a new car. So, the electrical components, the electronics on the car, air conditioning, it is a full-blown Lexus warranty. And that warranty is good for up to 6 years from the original in-service date of the vehicle. So if you're looking at we just took on trade a 2016 Lexus ES350 ultra luxury package. Beautiful car. Panoramic roof, Mark Levinson sound system, just loaded up car. And it's got 13,000 miles on it. So
yeah, sure.
Very low miles. But that car being a 2016, that original in-service date being roughly sometime in 2016, that vehicle will have 4+ years of factory warranty left on it as an L-certified vehicle.
Sure.
Unlimited miles. So you don't have to watch the odometer. You can drive it as much as you want, and that car is still under factory warranty. So it also comes with 2 years and 20,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. So that vehicle with 13,000 miles on it, it's included.
Yeah.
Your next service, you would get your you'd get your 15,000 mile service, your 20, your 25, and then the big one, 30. And that is a major service. So that's not just oil changes and that's it. That is all the scheduled maintenance is complimentary for the first 2 years or 20,000 miles.
Well, I would imagine with leasing too, you've got most people doing 3-year leases or some 2-year leases. I mean, you're going to get a car back with just 20,000 miles on it. I mean,
that's a lot more prevalent here, in our market. We have a lot of guests that are here half the year basically. So, they have their car here. A lot of them have another car up north. So,
sure.
I spent 7 years in North Carolina. We didn't see that as much in that market. We saw the cars come back with 30,000 miles on them. Mm-hmm. So we didn't see a lot of cars, come back after 2 years with 13,000 miles on them. That's a benefit, that we have in our market, particularly when you're looking at, a pre-owned vehicle. So the Lexus certified is, don't be fooled. L certified is much different, than anybody else's certified. We, after enhancing the program, it is without a doubt the best certified program in the industry. In fact, KBB just rated us, Kelley Blue Book, just rated us the top certified program in the automotive industry.
Boy, that's great.
So it's not just our opinion. That is just those are just the facts. No one offers the level of protection that we do, the length of time, unlimited miles. It's just an amazing thing. If you put it in perspective, when you buy a new car from us, it comes with a 4-year, 50,000 mile warranty. The vehicle I just described comes with over 4 years and unlimited miles.
Sure.
When you purchase a new car from us, you get, your first 2 services, scheduled maintenances are complimentary. On the certified side, it's 4. You get the same roadside assistance that you get when you purchase a new car. You get, so you don't need AAA, you have Lexus. We provide that. That's part of your purchase. So and you get rates as low as 0.9% because the car is L certified. So it's an unbeatable combination. It's just a fantastic program, and there's no better time to look at certified or consider certified L certified than right now.
Now, Rick, do you spend time? I know you spent a lot of time with Carol and I when we got Carol's car, with L certified owners as well.
I tell you, Greg, we probably spend as much, if not more, on the L certified than the new. But I'll tell you what, we are, from my knowledge, the only Lexus dealership in South Florida that will service you for technology well past the day of delivery. So say I spend an hour with you on your car. It doesn't end there. We offer the free car washes forever, and the people coordinate their free car washes with their free technology refresher class that they set up with me, and they kill two birds with one stone.
That's what we need.
And I'll tell you, the refreshers probably are better than the original day, because statistics say that over the age of 60, and a lot of our clients are over the age of 60, you absorb...
Gary, you know he's looking at me when he says that.
I thought he was looking at me.
Oh,
Hardly.
statistics say that you absorb about 28% of what the technician talks to you about. The other 72% just kind of oozes out when you leave the dealership.
It's in the ozone somewhere.
Yes. So it's vitally important that you come back, whether it be a week, 2, 3 weeks down the road, to get your car washed, of course, and spend some time with me refreshing all the things that we spoke of a month prior to that. So it's very important.
Wow.
Very relevant too, because when we came in to the studio today, I reintroduced Rick to Carol, and she said, "Oh, I'm glad you're here. When we're done with the show, I've got a couple of questions."
Yes.
But that is so commonplace, and I get more emails and letters from guests raving about the follow-up visit than I do even on the original. And that original day when they're purchasing a vehicle, when you purchase a vehicle, there's just a lot going on. You probably drove a few cars, you picked the one you liked, you negotiated, got a good price, happy. Then you go into finance and you do your paperwork, and so it's a process. After all that's done, now we put you in front of the technology specialist, and a lot of people are just like, I'm not going to absorb much more of this.
Rolling their eyes at that point.
It's been a process, but they love doing it. They love the service. They want to know how to use their car. So a lot of times we wind up covering the basics, and it's in that follow-up that Rick and his team and Diane and Mark, they've really embraced and perfected. I think that's where the real value for our delivery and technology specialists come in, and that's the feedback I'm getting from guests anyway. They rave about the fact that they can come back 2 and 3 and 4 times, and until they get it. And we strongly encourage people to take advantage of it, because if they're not using the features of the vehicle, that's to us, that's the worst thing that can happen. And if you're not sure, you're not going to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh yeah, no, I'm well aware of that. Yeah,
we want them to use it. We want them to enjoy it. They're certainly paying for it. So we understand that it's not a one-shot deal, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I know how many times they had to go through it with me before I got it.
Well, and that's true. I think that's everybody. I mean, and what amazed me when Rick was going through it with us was just, I mean, I don't know how many computers you have on board that car, but it's like there's something for everything. It seems like it is truly amazing.
Yeah, it's funny. When I came from New York 3 years ago, from Long Island, New York, I interviewed a bunch of dealers, and what really distinguished Treasure Coast Lexus was these few words that were said to me in my interview, and they said, "Rick, we're not in the car business." I said, "What do you mean we're not in the car business?" He said, "We're in the people business." And that really sunk into me, and almost 3 years later, I realized what he meant, that we cater to the people and making sure they know how to use the car, mm-hmm. and they're happy with the car, and they understand the car. Because with today's technology, it's unbelievable how much there is out there, and each year it gets more and more involved.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the woman who really taught me everything I know. Her name is Diane Spencer. She's synonymous with Treasure Coast Lexus.
She's officially one of the car guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
When I first got there, being 30 years at a Toyota dealership, I wasn't the most tech-savvy guy in the world. because we had a delivery department up in New York. But when I came down here, Diane took me under her wing, and she taught me everything. And I'm indebted to her for the rest of my life.
That's great.
Yeah.
And our guests are benefiting from all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we added a third person to the department, Mark.
Yeah, we have a new guy, Mark, very talented young man. Came from the industry where he catered to the elderly in a home. So he's a very good person when it comes to respecting older people. He's got great manners, and he's a tech wizard to begin with also.
Very patient.
Yes, patient. You know, that's the word we hear in a lot of our surveys that get sent back, that not only were we respectful of them, we were patient with them, because that's the whole idea, is being patient. And it's official. I was noted by Lexus as the, and I laugh when I say this, the oldest technology specialist in South Florida. I don't know if that's a good distinction or not, but I am the oldest. That's
There's
for
an
sure.
award for that?
Yeah, well, not an award, a distinction.
A distinction.
At 62 years old, most of my other people in the business are much younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is.
And that's the challenge with technology specialists, because I have two grown children, but they're millennials, and they're very tech savvy, but have absolutely zero patience. And I dread calling them and asking them for help with anything, because they fly through it at 150 miles an hour.
What's wrong with you, Dad?
And say, you got all that? And I'm like, well, no, I'm still logging into my computer. You're 5 miles ahead of me, and so that's the real challenge. And our team, very knowledgeable, understand the technology, front, back, and sideways, but most importantly, have the unique ability to slow it down, explain it, and explain it multiple times if necessary, which, again, I remember when they were training me, and I certainly did not get it on the first shot or the second. Maybe not even the third. But it was.
Well, that makes sense. What really got me yesterday, Carol brings in the mail. We got a nice letter from your service manager.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, I mean, this gets back, you're in the people business,
There you go.
And it's like, who does that? Nowadays, it's maybe throw an email or something like that. That was nice. Nice touch.
Well, thank you, and thanks for noticing, because we talk about things like that constantly at our store, and it starts with the Lexus covenant. It always starts at the top, right? It always starts with good leadership, and Lexus, their covenant is we treat every customer like a guest in our own home. That's their standard, and we talk about that constantly at our dealership. Because those are nice words, and it's nice to talk that talk, but we take a lot of pride in walking that walk too, and it's not always easy. We're not, we have stress and and challenges going on around us, but we can never lose sight of the fact that the only reason we're all at that dealership together is to assist our guests. Nothing happens without them. And it's easy to lose that perspective and, think it's all about us, and it's not. It's all about our guests. And again, that is Lexus's theme, and what a great place to start. And if you start there, I think you're going to be okay.
And it seems like you guys have the philosophy too, we live here, and so we'll run into a lot of, as you call them, the guests, and whether it's at a grocery store or whatever. I mean, yeah.
It's amazing. This is a big market, but it is such a small town feel to it, which is really nice, quite frankly. I've worked in some major metro markets, Miami, Orlando, Raleigh, Durham, and So coming here to the Treasure Coast has been very refreshing. It's a big market, lots of potential, but it is, gosh, everybody knows everybody.
Very true. Yes.
And yes, you run into people all the time. You've got to see that, Rick. Where everybody knows everybody. It's amazing.
Yeah, I remember last spring I was at a couple of Met games at Tradition Field, and one of the people were online with me to get a hot dog at the concession. They said, "Weren't you the guy who spent an hour with me doing technology?"
Isn't that
I
great?
said, "Yes." And they said, I've never seen a place that spends so much time with their guests after the sale, and that's the key, after the sale.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
That's a great
Well,
compliment.
that's kind of what it's all about. There's no doubt about it.
It truly is. And, our involvement in the community, that's encouraging because people know. They know. They appreciate it. Sometimes you wonder, you do things and is anybody even noticing? Is anybody even aware? And, in this town, everybody's aware. Everybody knows, and people come in and will tell you. So it's a really neat place. I've been here going on my 5th month now, and just enjoying the heck out of it. It's a wonderful market.
That's great. Well, hey, we're going to be talking a little bit more with Gary and Rick from Treasure Coast Lexus. It's going to be time for the Florida Network News straight ahead. In about 1 minute, we'll be back.
The luxury experience starts here at Treasure Coast Lexus.
You walk in here, they know who you are right away. Everybody knows who you are. I mean, hello, this is unbelievable, right? This dealership, by far, Treasure Coast Lexus, outperforms anybody by far.
I was driving a BMW for a test drive. I said to my son, I haven't driven a Lexus. And he said, pull right in. Service is excellent. The people are very friendly. It's like coming home to family.
This particular dealership, without question, if I rated it from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, I'd give them a 12. The car itself speaks for itself. It's a terrific car. Otherwise, we would have bought 4 of them.
If I were to recommend someone to buy a Lexus, I would recommend that they would come to Treasure Coast Lexus.
And I do think that we got the best deal here without exception.
Treasure Coast Lexus, US 1 in Fort Pierce.
FNN News, I'm Deborah Roberts. Another move to crack down on human trafficking in Florida. There are bills in the state legislature to create a public education campaign about the problem and set up a dedicated hotline for victims. Former prosecutor and state senator Maria Sachs leads the coalition against human trafficking.
Of all the crimes in the world, human trafficking is #1 cash business. More than drugs, more than weapons. And we as a state are right in the middle of it.
Florida ranks 3rd in the nation in the number of human trafficking complaints. A woman who survived a horrible ordeal is urging lawmakers to make sure no one else suffers like she did. Child kidnapping survivor Elizabeth Smart was in Tallahassee yesterday as part of Children's Week at the Capitol. Smart was kidnapped from her home in Utah when she was 14 before being forced into marriage and a cult. She's now 30 and a full-time advocate for children, and she asked lawmakers and educators to explore every avenue to protect children. A new report from an advocacy group says Florida is in the bottom quarter of states when it comes to highway safety legislation. Melissa Wandell of Bradenton has lobbied Florida lawmakers in the past for a law enabling red light cameras.
My home state of Florida is ranked as one of the worst states for traffic safety laws in this report, with only 5 out of the 16 recommended laws. We need our policymakers to stand up, stand beside us, and take action.
The group advocates for highway and auto safety recommends 16 safety laws, and Florida only passed 5 of them. It wants Florida lawmakers to tighten the rules on texting and driving, child safety seats, and teen drivers. It also wants Florida to reenact the motorcycle helmet law for all drivers. Those over 21 with proper insurance have been exempt since 2000. With news on the Florida News Network, I'm Deborah Roberts.
Attention type 2 diabetics. If you or a loved one has taken Invokana, Invokamet, or Invokamet XR or other inhibitors for type 2 diabetes and suffered amputation of the toes, feet, or legs, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA has warned that Invokana, Invokamet, or Invokamet XR and other inhibitors for type 2 diabetes cause an increased role in amputations of the toes, feet, and legs. If you or a loved one has taken Invokana, Invokamet, or Invokamet XR or other inhibitors for type 2 diabetes and suffered amputation of the toes, feet, or legs, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-474-6417. That's 800-474-6417. Again, 800-474-6417. Call now. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. www.injuryhelpdesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
A death row inmate scheduled for execution next month loses his latest appeal at the Florida Supreme Court, and he's not the only one. The High Court ruled on 10 death appeals Monday, and every one was rejected.
On Friday, the governor signed Eric Branch's death warrant for murdering a student at the University of West Florida, and that's just fine with members of the Florida Supreme Court. They have rejected his latest plea, along with appeals from 9 other men under sentence of death. All but one of those inmates would have been entitled to a new sentencing hearing under current law because their juries did not issue a unanimous recommendation for death. But the Supreme Court says that only applies in cases since 2002, and all 10 of these happened before that deadline. Rick Flagg, Tallahassee.
A documentary about the Pulse nightclub massacre is debuting in Orlando this week. The creators of 49 Pulses are currently running a preview, but Friday, the entire film will be shown at Fashion Square Mall's Premier Cinema. It'll run for 1 week in Orlando and may move on to other cities as well. I'm Deborah Roberts, FNN News.
Treasure Coast Toyota of Stewart on South Federal Highway is the best choice on the Treasure Coast. When shopping for your next car, truck, or sport utility, choose from some of the most reliable names in the business: Camry, Corolla, and Avalon. If it's economy you're looking for, test drive a Prius hatchback. Need more space? Check out the Prius wagon. At Treasure Coast Toyota of Stewart, incentives are available on many models, from economy cars to sport utilities like the RAV4, Land Cruisers, and 4Runners, plus pickup trucks. Test drive a Tacoma or Tundra today. Visit the Treasure Coast Toyota of Stewart website and find out more about the Toyota Tire Savings event going on now. From batteries and oil changes to transmission replacements, the service department at Treasure Coast Toyota of Stewart is dedicated to maintaining top-tier customer service. Visit today, 5101 South Federal Highway in Stewart, and go online, treasurecoasttoyotaofstewart.com. Toyota, let's go places.
The luxury experience starts here at Treasure Coast Lexus.
You walk in here, they know who you are right away. Everybody knows who you are. I mean, hello, this is unbelievable, right? This dealership, by far, Treasure Coast Lexus, outperforms anybody by far.
I was driving a BMW for a test drive. I said to my son, I haven't driven a Lexus. And he said, pull right in. Service is excellent. The people are very friendly. It's like coming home to family.
This particular dealership, without question, if I rated it from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, I'd give them a 12. The car itself speaks for itself. It's a terrific car. Otherwise, we would have bought 4 of them.
If I were to recommend someone to buy a Lexus, I would recommend that they would come to Treasure Coast Lexus.
And I do think that we got the best deal here without exception.
Treasure Coast Lexus, US 1 in Fort Pierce.
You're listening to WSTU Stewart.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
We are back with the Treasure Coast Car Guys with Gary and Rick from Treasure Coast Lexus.
Hi, Greg.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Well, Rick is the guy that we will probably be seeing several times. Because there are a lot of things on Carol's car that we do not understand. So, yeah.
Time for the refresher course.
Time for the refresher course. There's no doubt about it. Rick, the thing that amazes me, and you know, we talked a little bit about the thank you note, is the fact that, you know, surveys we got to survey, how was the car and the delivery service and all that. I think that's neat. What's the general reaction that you get?
Well, yes, it's funny. We said Lexus sends out probably of 10 customers, 70% of them get surveys. And I would say the most common response I get is that the word family is in their response. They feel like they're in your family home, just like the Covenant from Lexus. You treat them like they're a guest in your home. And it really carries over to the dealership because we spend so much time with them. And again, it's not always about the technology. I can tell you, of the 1 hour I spend with the client or the guest, probably 10 to 15 minutes is talking about personal lives, that we have things in common. And that's part of it also, because if you do strictly technology, it becomes a kind of just a ho-hum thing. You want to mix it in with a little, maybe some laughter, maybe a joke here and there, or some personal things that they're willing to share with me and vice versa. And that's the response they get. They feel like they're part of the family.
I think that also, makes them a lot more comfortable, and because when they first meet you, you're a total stranger.
That's correct.
And,
never met me before.
And by having that level of comfort, I think that also allows us to serve them better, because they're more likely to tell us their likes, dislikes, what they really need to know, what they already know. Because that dialogue and that open communication allows us to do a better job.
Yeah, I think another advantage for us is that Lexus, or Treasure Coast Lexus, is dependent on repeat business. And with Diane, in her case, they know her face. They know her as the face of the dealership. So if they see that she's doing the delivery, they're comfortable right off the bat. In my case, it's my age factor that helps. Since I'm 62 years old, a lot of the older, or our average customer, which is over 60, feels comfortable because of my age, and I can relate to them, and I tell them right up front, I know the challenges of the technology in these new cars. We're not millenniums. And they feel comfortable right off the bat, and everything rolls nicely and smoothly. And before you know it, the hour's up, because the old saying, time flies when you're having fun. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how many people at the end of the hour say, "Oh my God, Rick, was it an hour?" They can't believe it went that quick.
Well, that's the way it was with us. I mean, it just flew by.
What exactly do you do, on that first delivery? What are some of the things that you teach people and cover with them?
Yeah, well, the first thing I think is the most important is the introduction. You've got to make sure you're in a good mood. You got to make sure that you're prepared, because I can't tell you how many times where you'll meet a person and you're unprepared, and I've seen it happen, and you kind of stumble. So you want to be prepared, number one, and you want to make them feel comfortable, as I said before. And our area where we do our deliveries, by the way, are really beautiful. We've got some marble floors, mirrors, well lit inside, as you've experienced. And the customer is truly impressed with that right from the get-go. We start with a nice walk around on the exterior. Talk about the body style, the color. And, you want to get into that because it's their personal car now.
Sure.
You want to relate to that. We start always in the back, by the trunk or by the hatchback, depending if it's an SUV or a sedan. But the real heavy stuff is, of course, the Bluetooth technology and the navigation. And a lot of our guests are intimidated by that because of their age factor. And if I make them feel comfortable right from the beginning, it goes so much more smoothly. And that's what I do. When I meet them, I said, listen, we're going to tackle this technology with ease. And before you know it, the hour is up, and they feel so much more comfortable. But now remember, they're going to come back for a refresher 65% of the time. And as Gary said before, the refresher class is probably as important or more important than the original one.
And I'm sure you had a challenge with my flip phone for the Bluetooth. No, I'm just kidding.
I saw one the other day.
Oh. Somebody had a flip phone.
They did.
Oh man!
I brought it to some of the younger employees at the dealership.
What's
they were
this?
like, "What is that?"
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sure.
So I said, "Yeah."
Another thing I'd like to add that's vitally important, especially in the last year or two, the new cars have so much more safety features than they did 3-4 years ago. So that is of the utmost importance that we show them how it works and they understand how it works. So I would say at least 15 minutes is attributed just to safety features alone, much less the Bluetooth and the navigation. And that's why a full hour is needed. And most of the people that I talk to who have bought elsewhere, they'd never heard of more than a 10 or 15-minute tutorial from the other dealer.
Oh, I'm sure.
And that's what separates us from them.
Rick, what if they didn't buy their car from us? You know, a lot of people from up north maybe bought their car up there, and they're in our service department. What do we do then?
Well, not only in our service department, we'll get phone calls galore. People, and I'll say, well, by the way, who's your salesperson? And they'll say, well, we didn't buy the car there. But that doesn't stop us from helping them, because remember, it's all about customer service. If they own a Lexus, we're there to help them. So I can't tell you how many times Diane, myself, and Mark, we're taking our trip to the other side of the dealership in the service line, and we'll spend 15, 20, sometimes a half hour with a client who did not buy the car there. It's not important to us. It's important that they understand the car and grow to learn how to use it, because chances are if they bought it elsewhere, they don't know much about the technology.
But say they did buy a car in Long Island, just that whole concept of service may open their eyes to come back to you when they decide to upgrade.
That's certainly our hope. But even if they don't, we still approach it the same way. It's still they're in our service department. They're still a guest in our home, and so even though they didn't purchase a car from us, we are still going to treat them like they did. And if that results in them doing future business with us, fabulous. If it doesn't, then that's okay too. We are going to do everything right on our end, and if you do everything the right way, chances are things are going to work out pretty well for you. So that's our philosophy. It's the same way with our community involvement. People will say, well, that's great, publicity for you, and that's probably why you're doing it. And no, that's really not why we're doing it. We do it because we feel we're part of the community. We feel it's the right thing to do. We feel absolutely blessed and fortunate to have the things we have and be working at a Lexus store on the Treasure Coast. And we feel a sense of responsibility to be part of the community and to help. And if that generates a sale, fabulous, but that's not the motivation behind doing it. It's you always do the right thing, and that everything will work out in the end for you. That's kind of how we look at that, and the way we look at the folks who didn't buy the car from us. So that's just how we like to conduct ourselves. So we just focus on doing it right.
I'll give you an example. The other day I had a customer came back for a refresh about 3 weeks after the delivery, and they were just astounded. They couldn't get over the fact that we followed up immensely after the sale, and a small thing like a handwritten thank you card, not only from the salesperson, but from us in our technology department, thanking them for the business and mentioning the fact they should come back to see us. So they said, boy, you don't hear that in today's society. Everything's email, email blast, send you, but the handwritten, even the exterior address is handwritten. And they know we spend time investing time to do that. And they appreciate that beyond belief.
Yeah, I think that's very cool. It is so different. And I know you guys work in that environment, but when you've seen other places on the Treasure Coast, it is different. I mean, you have a totally different feel in your operation than I would say 95% of the other places here.
And isn't it, and Greg, because you've walked in as a guest. We work there every day, so yeah, I think sometimes we become a little immune to it. But when you walk in, I've always believed this. I believe that you can feel it. When you walk into a dealership, I think you can really feel that whether it's a positive, comforting, friendly environment versus, some that aren't.
Here come the sharks descending.
Well, I had a general manager early in my career tell me, and I've never forgotten it. And he said, show me a store that has great surveys, because every manufacturer sends out surveys. Show me a store that has great surveys, great responses, and I will show you a happy staff.
That's right. Ooh, that's okay.
And he said that was always the key to him. And because if the staff is unhappy, and it's not a good environment, and people are getting yelled at all the time and berated and criticized, the staff is unhappy, it's going to be hard for them to turn around and then, be positive to the guests and give them a great experience. So I think it starts, with obviously with the team. And, we just have a great staff, great individuals that want to do great work and are happy. They're happy what they do. And so I think you feel that when you walk in the front door.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you do.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no doubt about it. And I think that what is intriguing to me, and, I go in there quite frequently, that you see people there for years where, sometimes it's kind of a transient business, but certainly not with you.
Speaking of a person who's been there a long time, there's a guy by the name of Carlton Duncan, who's one of the top salespeople in the Treasure Coast area.
Yeah, he's ours.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a little thing about Carlton that me and him, and we have a lot of fun with it. If you know Carlton like I know him, he's a dead ringer for Eddie Murphy. And what we do with our guest with him, and we
can't wait to see where this is going.
Well, Carlton has
out.
the thing that he has me take a picture of him and his guests prior to me doing the technology. And without fail, I say to every guest, by the way, folks, you can tell all your friends to go on the website and you'll see a picture of you buying a car from Eddie Murphy. And without doubt, they all get a kick out of it. It loosens things up.
Sure.
And the whole hour of technology right from there goes very smoothly because they really love the fact that they're in a nice, fun atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps you understand the technology a little bit better because your defenses are down because you're with somebody you feel comfortable with. I've had many people tell me that.
Yeah,
I think our entire staff does a great job, with that. But it's something, again, we talk about constantly. We talk about it every day, and we don't want to be the stereotypical car guys, although we're called the car guys, right? That's our show. We do everything possible at our dealership to not be the car guys, and to be just helpful and informative, and we really kind of let the guest, drive the ship. We ask them what they would like to accomplish today. Why are they here? We don't try to force them or pigeonhole them into doing maybe something they're not ready to do. Not everybody who walks in the door is ready to buy a car.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have just started their process. They're doing their research. They're driving. Some people, are on their fifth Lexus and already know exactly what they want. And I'm here to buy a car. So, you have to respect each person's, individual agenda, so to speak. And we pay a lot of attention to that, so we don't, because it can be very frustrating for a guest when, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to do this, and we're trying to make them do that. So we're more assisting than selling, so to speak.
Well, and I think you hit it on the head too, where both you and Rick are referring to guests rather than say customers or whatever. It's it's just. That's a whole different feel right there.
It certainly is. And once you adopt that, once you embrace that, it's hard to treat people badly, quite frankly. If you're my guest, then, that implies a certain All right, that sends a message, and it's hard to not be courteous and friendly and generous, and and all the things I think that we are. And let's face it.
You could hire a sous chef though for the coffee bar.
Oh, that doesn't stop the suggestions from coming in.
It goes back to, I think it starts from the top. Our owner, Mr. Stanley Woods. It behooves me to this day. I see him out on the showroom floor talking with guests. I mean, how many owners, much less the general manager, Gary is, to me, a workaholic. I've never seen a general manager work as many hours, as many days as he does. And he wants to be in front of the guests. Most GMs, general managers in my history, they're up in the office. They want their managers and their salespeople to do everything. Not here. And I can't get over the fact that Mr. Woods is down there on the showroom migrating with the customers and talking to them. And his most important thing is making them feel comfortable. Goes back to the saying, we're not in the car business, we're in the people business. And it starts from the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was funny because I remember talking with Sandy, and he said, "Oh, I can't tell you how many people thought I was totally nuts to build this dealership." Of course, he did it right in the middle of the recession, and you're just thinking, what is wrong with this guy, But, you look and see what has been created, and it really is. It's magical. It really is.
He's quite a visionary.
Yes, he is.
And, to see what he saw 10 years ago and to see it come to fruition.
Yes,
now it's
sir.
all happening, and when I first met him, he told me, what was coming, and it's all coming. We're the fastest growing county in the state of Florida. We Midway Road, what's going on Midway, and the expansion of Midway all the way to the coast, and it's here. It's actually here, and we couldn't be more excited. And we're building this great foundation, and great processes and great culture that even as we grow, we'll just keep adding pieces to that. But the core of what we do and how we do it won't change. So even as we get bigger, and this market has tremendous potential, it'll still maintain that kind of home feel for us. That's the mission.
Yeah, and we found out on our IRSC Startup Talk show that Florida Chamber Florida scorecard they have has now extended the economic bullseye of the entire state of Florida for Port St. Lucie and the Treasure Coast out to 2045.
Wow.
And that's on the Chamber website if anybody wants to go see it. I mean, this is where it's all going to happen. And, and I know Sandy was thinking about that 10 years ago.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. It really is. Because, it just, a lot of people could have just, looked at that whole situation and run it. No way. Yeah, I think it's phenomenal. It is.
Well, we're certainly happy that he saw it. And because we're in a great position, wonderful market, great location, growing, all the things that you could possibly hope for.
Yep.
And still again with that with that small town feel to it, and I don't see that changing really. Even as we grow, because the area has experienced tremendous growth in the last 2 or 3 years, and yet from kind of the new guy in town. My perspective still is that it still has that small town feel to it, and
once you hit 6 months, you're a lifelong.
Am I?
Resident.
I'm an
of
official
Treasure Coast.
resident.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I did spend 20 years in Florida before.
That's right.
My 7-year
yeah.
stint in Raleigh, so I'm a Floridian. Both my kids were born and raised here, so it's home, and it's great to be back home. Quite frankly.
So, Rick, what do you think of this compared to Long Island?
Well, it's funny. I'm enjoying my stay here, but you can't take the New York out of me. I spent 59 years living on Long Island and growing up there. My sports teams are there, the Jets, the Giants, the Mets, of course. Not the Yankees, I might say.
Gee, why am I surprised?
But I got to tell you, in January and February, being down here at 70 degrees instead of the frigid weather, that I'm happy about. But no, I do miss New York and Long Island. But you know what the good thing is? I see a lot of New Yorkers down here, a lot of Long Islanders. And they can,
half our staff is from Long Island.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I still love hearing the Boston accent from these guys from Boston, Massachusetts, even though their team's in the Super Bowl again for the umpteenth time.
Well, if we had another hour, Greg, we would have Rick talk about the great food, that was in New York, because there's nothing he's more passionate about than food. And
I'm the lunch coordinator at the dealership. Gary's found that out, that's for sure.
Yeah, I waited till the end of the show to bring that up because we would never have talked about anything else.
Just stop by Da Vinci's on your way back. He'll be fine.
Oh, please don't encourage him.
Oh my! Well, now obviously Treasure Coast Lexus and Treasure Coast Toyota, two great places. Where do we find you?
5121 US 1. We're just south of Midway. So we're at the intersection basically of Midway and US 1 in Fort Pierce. And then 17 miles to the south of us on US 1 is Treasure Coast Toyota of Stewart. And just look for the giant American flag. You cannot miss it.
Mammoth. It is just
mammoth. It is the biggest flag I think I've seen.
Yeah.
And so, yes, those are our two stores, 17 miles apart. And great things going on at our Toyota store as well. Going through a big expansion right now. Getting ready to break ground on that.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. And of course, Amber is heading that operation down there and doing a fine job as well. Well, thanks, car guys. Rick, glad to see you again. We'll be seeing you soon. And Gary, thanks as always.
Thank you.
Treasure Coast Car Guys from Treasure Coast Lexus and Treasure Coast Toyota right here on WPSL, Port St. Lucie, WSTU.